Well, well, thank you, Michelle. Hello, everyone. My name is James Lau. I will be presenting tonight. Let me just see if I can get this slide deck running. I believe I can do this way. Screen share. Oh, good.
We see it.
Can everyone see? Is it just the presentation?
We see the tabs at the top too, but we see the presentation filling the screen.
Okay. Okay, that's good. All right. So I guess I'm sorry, I'm just using the Google Slides slide presenter right now. So yeah, my name is James Lau. Tonight I'm going to be talking about the Constant Gardener and my maintaining nonprofit website journey. This has been a year-long project for me. I've started this solely for just as a experiment. I wanted to also just dive back into WordPress, but it slowly grew into something of um, side work. And then now some of those people that I work with are my clients. So, and I'll take you through that. So again, my name is James Lau, local developer from web developer based here in Boston, Massachusetts. Dual degree in graphic design and digital media. I've been in the web development space since the spring of 2009. In the summer of 2010 is when I discovered the gateway drug known as WordPress. Um, there was a lot of old sites that I built that were just hacked together with HTML and CSS, and I told myself there's got to be an easier way to build sites and to blog posts. And obviously there was a lot of options, but the most intuitive of them all was really WordPress. And so that's quickly became my tool of choice for a lot of projects going on forward. Between the years of 2012 to 2021, I drank the tech Kool-Aid, which led me to various technology stacks and CMS tools. So I dabbled into Drupal, I dabbled into Joomla, I dabbled into React, Angular, Node.js, JavaScript, you name it. It's just basically everything that any company needed to have some kind of site done or application built. And as a front end person, that's something of the necessary need for me in order to actually get those up and running. Of course, as we all know, in 2023, last year in January, I was part of the tech layoff tsunami that hit me. And the last job that I was working at was at a startup and they used Webflow. But I was also in transition to helping out that company move away from sole proprietary applications like Webflow, Wix, or Squarespace to a more open source project and application. And my suggestion was WordPress. I created a ton of documentations for them. I created a lot of different, basically staging applications for them to kind of try out things. But of course, marketing sites usually tends to get the first axe when it comes to layoffs. Um, so I decided to take a break for about a month to relax my brain. And then in March, I was thinking to myself, I want to dive back in to tech a little bit and where should I go? Um, I look to find ways to increase my skills. I applied for the Harvard CS online courses. I went on Udemy to go online to learn more. Of course, back in April, I decided to jump back into WordPress. I wanted to see what came out of WordPress in 6.2, which was like the big news at the time, and how much Gutenberg actually had progressed. I have been using WordPress on and off for the duration of my career thus far, but the only thing is I left WordPress to jump into other technologies right when Gutenberg was published or when they first announced it in 2018. I don't know if that was a bad thing or not because then had a whole lot of time to catch up on, and a lot of things I missed out on. And so I wanted to know. I checked out different plugins, checked out different pieces of software, and checked out to see if any of the old plugins I like to use were still around. Because that tends to happen with software. Um, so I decided to work on my personal portfolio site. I made contacts with clients. And while I decided to polish up on that, I looked around the web and I emailed businesses to see if they needed help with their website, but nothing came up. So I signed up as a solopreneur. Maybe that will highlight my ranking, I guess, in the SEO world. But then a thought came to me. I decided to volunteer my time to businesses who has WordPress sites that are out of date. These are sites that are out on the road and they rely on support from experts such as us as developers and designers within the WordPress community. Um, and if I needed to practice WordPress, if I wanted to study up on WordPress, why pay to learn all over again when I can probably just dive deep? Because I'm a usually person who just throw me a deep end and I'll fumble a little bit, but that's usually the best way to learn trial by fire, really. And so I spent some time and looked for WordPress sites. Of course, people are probably wondering, why would you build sites for free? Uh, why devote your time? Because, this is a kind of a privileged tech-based career, and, I know people are always thinking, wait a minute, there's way to make money, why do it for free? It's just a highly contentious debate. Um, all sides of the fence, left, right, up and down, forward, backwards. Um, it could, but as they always say, it's like, but you hear the same rhetoric. You shouldn't work for free. Internships shouldn't be paid. It should be paid. Nothing is for free. I won't launch a site until you pay me. Um, but as a person, I'm a guy who, really likes to help people out, helping out the community. Um, Giving your time is really, it really depends, but the way I think of it is you're a developer and you're providing your time and space to open source technology for free, then that's pretty much similar to this as well. The benefit is that you're actually helping companies who have pledged to utilize WordPress as their main source of, income or build up their company. And you don't want to leave those behind. You want to help them out. So it's similar to me giving my PTO time for my kid or, helping out at a food pantry during the holidays or participate in running an organization or giving a talk at a meetup. It's, you're giving your time. WordPress is an open source platform, something similar to the nature that I spoke with. I forgot her name, Courtney Robinson. She is monitoring the livelihood of 5 for 5, I think. The initiative at Automatic, every company who has time should contribute at least 5% of their time back to WordPress. Um, I I don't want to forget this line, but it was that thing that is that one saying. I know I asked Michelle, I bugged her, and we spent like almost like 2 or 3 days looking for it. Um,
Oh no, I can't remember. I'll see if I can find it for you.
yeah, it's
Oh,
yeah.
the something of the commons, the
Oh, Tragedy of the
tragedy of the
Commons.
commons. There you go.
Yeah. It's basically you don't want to take too much away to the community to the point where there's nothing else to give back, so and we want to be able to do that. So as the technology moves forward, newer users and newer people will be able to kind of enjoy the freedom of utilizing an open source technology and be able to benefit from it. Um, so while I was looking around, I came across a site called volunteermatch.org. Um, their headline on their site is Volunteer Match is the largest network in the nonprofit world with the most volunteer nonprofits and opportunities to make a difference. I say this is because why I wanted to choose nonprofits is because I've been working in the ad agency space and design field for quite some time now, and we're always building sites to kind of just sell a pair of shoes or sell clothing, and that's about it. I wanted to be able to not only contribute back to WordPress, but also contribute back to an organization that contributes back to society in some way to help people. Because I always feel like there's always a need, and it's good to help out. I applied to volunteer as a web developer to about 20 to 30 organizations nationwide. Um, a handful came back. The head of organizations liked some of the work that I did in the past, and they liked my approach in terms of helping out community and helping out open source. And they also really enjoyed utilizing WordPress, and they wanted to stick with it. Equally, my empathy grew as I learned more about the individual missions and visions from each organization who are trying to make a difference in this world. So in May is when I kind of basically honed in on 3 particular projects. Now, I did say like I did 20 to 30. Some of the projects were, can you make an edit to this page? Can you change the copy? Can you change the navigation so it reduces the button? Can you move this to left? You move this to right? Those are small projects. But I'm going to highlight 3, 2 of which I still work with right now. And these were by far the most challenging because they actually yielded a lot of experiences for me. Some I knew what to do, and some I was just I burned the midnight oil to kind of figure out what was going on. So 3 is Touching Heart from Herndon, Virginia, Disaster Accountability Project from Rockville, Maryland, and then Educate, Radiate, Elevate from Chicago, Illinois. So I'll go through the first one, Touching Heart. Their mission is on a mission to inspire kids to fill their young hearts and with love and compassion for one another. Touching Hearts programs are focused on how to enlighten, excite, educate children about how they can experience the true joy that comes from helping those in need. And this is currently their website. But I'll highlight and let you know like what we end up making a decision on in terms of the restructuring, re-architecture. But this is what their site looks like right now. So the technical issues going into this, their WordPress version was 5.89, PHP was 7.3, expired theme builder license, and also we couldn't reach the previous developer. The plugins were outdated and or defunct. Server ran out of space, uncompressed images. Donation applications needed to be updated. Site is not mobile friendly. Unmet basic accessibility guidelines. Low score performance from Yellow Lab Tools, GTmetrix, and Google Lighthouse. And also lacking in legal policies at the bottom, such as privacy policies or disclaimers. The solutions I provided for them, I listed them on the side here. First thing to do was to update WordPress core to its current latest version. I ran into an issue though, unfortunately, where GoDaddy does not provide a dev or staging environment to solve the solution. So I suggested to utilize InstantWP as a VirtualBox solution, build a new site. I then ran into another issue where you couldn't really load the entire site onto a free account with InstantWP because it's free. If you run the site in one of their instances, it's only a splash page. So I went on Post Status, which is a paid membership WordPress community on Slack. And I asked a bunch of people about how to get this to work again. And I got a reply back from one of the tech supports who manages WP Migrate, which is the plugin that I frequently use to upload and manage the database. And I also got a message from the founder of InstaWP, and he said, "Oh, I'll spin you up a free instance just to try, just to make this work." And we're still currently using it right now, and it's a godsend really, because it's giving me and my client the ability to actually make this work. And so that's what we're doing right now. This is where the nasty part came also. The server storage space maxed out at 35 gigs due to a backup plugin saving instances since 2015. And I believe there was over 6,000 different media files, and a lot of those had to just be offloaded. There's no way they're going to even be able to upload a new image. And so I spent the time SFTPing and also just deleting files as much as I could. This current site had 23 plugins, 6 out of date and 4 defunct. Majority of plugins were deleted and replaced with bare basics: site migration tools, basic SEO, donation applications, and event calendar policy generators. And for the website architecture, the site has far too many pages with too little content on some of them. So architecture research was needed to figure out how to reduce the number of pages on the site, thus the number of calls to the server. Installed GiveWP to help streamline the donation experience, integrated options with PayPal through Google Pay and Apple Pay. So they are currently utilizing the free version of GiveWP, but it is something that they're thinking about upgrading, because they did definitely have campaigns and other resources that they would like to utilize within the more premium plan. The theme builder choice. Well, before it was Avada. It was originally a theme builder. I've never heard of it. I've never touched it before. And the other problem is that the license that they had expired. A lot of theme builders out there now provides you with an instant copy of the current iteration of the theme and the theme builder. But if you don't continue with the subscription, you still get to utilize that theme for the site, but it's not going to get updated. And so I actually ran into a lot of instances where it actually handicapped the client from actually utilizing some of the more basic features. Or they wanted to move elements around which they couldn't. And also we couldn't get a hold of the previous developer, and we couldn't get a new subscription with Avada because everything was under his or her name. And so I was like, you know what, let's just throw this out, throw the baby out with the bathwater, and we decided to go with Beaver Builder. On a side note, this is also the very first time where I ever touched up on any theme builders. Most of my career has always been just ACF field or just purely PHP work in WordPress. And I thought to myself, this is an opportunity to sell the idea of using a theme builder, but also to self-teach myself how to use a theme builder. And I've also been fully disclosed to them that I have no clue what I'm doing. And so if you trust me, and I, with my experience, I will help you build this out for free. And so they bought the license. I made sure that everything is under their name and accounts, because if I leave or get hit by a bus, they can still find someone else to help work on the site, or if they want to start diving into on their own. Like I said before, the Beaver Builder has an excellent choice with responsive design options out of the box. But I also suggest that certain elements like images, carousels, and other functionalities that aren't essential to the mobile version must be removed for ease of experience. I know clients tend to want to, like, I want to add this, I want to add that. I was like, well, is it really conducive if you're to scroll down, but your finger needs to go left and right for certain instances? It's probably not good. And the legal policies is sort of a newer thing, much like the cookies right now. All websites and contact forms, newsletter forms, donation forms are technically tracked. As long as you're actually on someone's site, you are being tracked. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've noticed in the past probably 3 or 4 months now, there's sort of like a little cookie bar that comes up on almost every website now. do we have consent? What are the options that you would like to be tracked and how you would like to be tracked, or completely denied? Do not track me at all. I believe, I have to look it up, but there's a new guideline rule based in the US government that some of these things need to be implemented now. I utilized Termageddon, which is a policy generator, and I provided that as an option for the client to create legalese copying for them if they need to, if they're not part of a larger university or a larger entity that already has that policy set up for them. And so it also allows you to add that cookie widget at the bottom. So that was a really nice thing, and they've bought into that as well. So the second project is a disaster accountability project. I started working with them, just kind of making little slight tweaks and changes to the site with copy and image and positioning of some animations, but then they really realized that they needed a full-blown redo. And I was happy to help because their cause mean a lot to me too, in terms of all the disasters that are happening around the world. And what they're trying to do is, well, I'll read the mission: saves lives and reduce suffering by maximizing the effectiveness, efficiency, and equity of disaster preparedness, response, relief, and recovery through oversight, transparency, advocacy, and public education. They're currently also building an application right now as an app to, I don't want to mess this up, but you're supposed to be able to send out immediate messages and alerts in case if there's a disaster around the globe. And it will also connect you to local organizations or other NGOs that will who are willing and have the bandwidth to actually help and assist in case if there's a disaster around the globe. I think at the time when I started working with them, I think there was an earthquake somewhere in I would say it was in Turkey. You know, there's just a whole bunch of other disasters that are happening, and it's just a one guy who's running this, including with a few board members. But it's their goal right now is to do that. So technical issues, it's 5.9, PHP 7.3. There was no theme involved with this one. It was a defunct theme, Azul Silver. I've never heard of it. I think it was purchased off of ThemeForest at the time. Outdated plugins, donation applications needed to be updated, responsive design, lacking accessibility, low scope performance from Yellow Labs tools, GTmetrix and Google Lighthouse, and also lacking legal policies. The changes that I made thus far with them is upgrading it to 4.9 from 5.9, and also the PHP version. These were not an issue because everything was managed within Namecheap. And within Namecheap, they don't exactly have a dev or staging or production environment per se, but they have sort of a WordPress hosting package solution, which most older hosting providers now provide. If you look at their navigation, they usually allocate our services, server issues, or support, and then they also have a separate tab entirely for WordPress solutions. Namecheap has their version is called EasyWP. I would say it's similar to InstantWP, which because Namecheap is a domain registrar, they generate a fake domain or URL or temporary domain URL, and they tag the entire server to that, and that's how they basically run a lot of their instances. I'm sure there's a whole other signs, but you choose to spin up as many as you want, and then you can kind of just throw everything in there. And once you're done with the likings of the site, you can actually convert that over to your live production version. This allowed me to build and test the site. Once the site was done, the production version could be overwritten via migration plugin and SFTP transfers. The current site had 18 plugins, 14 of which were out of date and 2 were defunct. I stripped majority of the plugins, leaving only 5 essential ones to power the critical elements of the site itself. Visually, the site looks extremely out of date. It was created in 2014. The first thing that he wanted me to do when I started the project was to change the year copyright on the bottom because it was completely out of date. But then later on, there was a bunch of other requests that came in. Um, Pages were added, but not excessive amount, which was a good thing, considering that most organizations, they tend to kind of have a heavy load on what's our mission, what's our vision, who's our board members, where's our donations, our campaigns, our blogs. They tend to have overly a large amount of information that may or may not confuse the donors. Um, for example, I utilize custom post types or CPT UI. I add that in order to consolidate the board members and the missions and visions page, press release, and blog pages. Those are completely separate at one point, or they were just cobbled together as a single page. But they wanted to be able to highlight a lot of these elements of the individuals who are donating or who are helping the organization. Site editing experience was a bit of a departure, going from classic editor to block editor for the head organizer. And so my solution was to provide Astro Pro theme builder, another theme builder which I've never used before. I was happy to disclose that I've never done this. Will you let me give it a try? Um, I utilize Astro Pro is actually running on Spectra plugin, which integrates pretty well with WordPress block editor. It's kind of two things. It's Spectra. You can technically run the Spectra plugin without having the Astro Pro theme builder. But what the additional thing that Astro Pro does is it has fully functional full page templates, not just like a single page template, with all the essential pages, and then you can just throw your entire database and your site on there, see what runs, see what breaks, and then modify from there. The Spectra plugin is really, I don't know how many of you have actually started utilizing the block editor, but when you go to the left side of the nav bar to choose different blocks within the block editor, at the bottom, it should be Spectra Pro. These are basically pro block elements that work, that pair well with the UI within Gutenberg or the block editor. So it's different from Beaver Builder, where if you need to edit a page, you go into Beaver Builder and the entire site itself gets reskinned to, it doesn't even look like the block editor or the WordPress editor. You're just basically ejected out. But it's fluid nonetheless. The organizers again also bought the license and they kept it. Mobile experience of the website was literally night and day. The original theme had basic responsiveness, but the theme was designed specifically for news publications. So we're basically doing an overhaul and reducing the amount of pages to just one or two or three, so that you can get up front and center to tell the donors what your vision and your mission are, which is extremely critical because um, like all nonprofits, that's what they're running on. It's donations. Uh, the accessibility, basic accessibility methods with color contrast were applied to the site. What little images were provided were given and with a proper alt tag. Proper headlines and human readable links were also added. And also a lot of the click-through focus were also added as well. And like I said before about the legal policies being really important, I notified the organizer and he actually started looking for law firms who will provide a free pro bono privacy policy copy for him as of right now. And then we're going to implement it on the bottom of the footer, but also as individual pages if someone wants to really read in detail. The last project is educate, radiate, and elevate. Their mission is to provide tutoring and to underserved students in Illinois and Texas. This is their current site. This is also one of the projects I don't continue. I haven't been working with them. It's the other two that I still work with. They are currently running on 6.2, or at the time when I started working with them, which is great because I jumped in, it was 6.2. Their WordPress version was only 6.1. PHP version was 7.3. The horror story for this project is really the down server, and I'll highlight that in a little bit. Poorly optimized images. Site is semi-mobile friendly, but there were also odd divs and CSS issues that I wouldn't say they were purposely done, but it just didn't seem to work properly, and it made much more of a hindrance on the mobile version. Lacking accessibility, low score performance from Yellow, Lab Tools, GTmetrix, and Google Lighthouse. Their core WordPress site was at 6.1, which wasn't bad. We moved the site to the latest version, so it would play well with Elementor. This was also another opportunity in reverse. I told them that I've never used Elementor. Could I give a chance? Could you give me a chance to play around with Elementor? Giving that I'm just providing my free time. You lose nothing, and we all gain something from this. I would say the Elementor theme builder is slightly more on the heavier side due to its various add-ons over the years, from what I've heard. And see, there was also other plugins that were running at the same time. So there were duplicate contact forms, security, and SEOs on the site. I had to consolidate these. It wasn't them, but there was another example of a nonprofit company where they had 4 SEOs, and 4 of them were non-paid. They're all free. I don't think you need 4 in order to. It's not going to make much of a difference trying to rank you up because, if you kind of pay for one of them, they'll probably be able to rank you higher. Same goes for security. Just because you get a malware message, if your hosting provider does not provide a support, that's generally where I would look first to see if you can get a backup up and running. But having 3 to 4 different security plugins running on the site, that's going to slow down your computer, but 2, it's really not going to do any better than having one that's actually being paid. So the server was the major issue here. The server was an independent provider from the UK. Only the founder had access to the ticketing support system, and the site was down multiple times a week, 24 hours per downtime. 24 hours per downtime. I was in a Slack call. I got emails late at night asking me if we can do something about this. Well, I can't even access WordPress because the site is completely down. And support tickets go through the founder first before it gets to us. So she gets all the noise, and then it comes for us to put out the fire. And we're like, I have no bucket of water to do any of this. So ultimately, we decided to migrate away from the independent provider. And this was not actually me independently. There was 2 other volunteers, web developers, web engineers, and we all thought about what were the best solutions. And A2 hosting was recommended. We needed 0 downtime, individualized email generations, and better security, and larger server storage space. One thing to highlight that I did not know also in terms of email addresses is that I've always thought of utilizing WP Engine as a good solution, but there's one thing that they don't provide is to generate as many redundant email addresses as you need for specific campaigns. That's just something that they don't do, but the hosting providers do, and that was something I learned and that's why we end up choosing A2 hosting. Plus, there was also experience from one of the developers he's been utilizing for past 5 years at the time when we were discussing this. So I was like, okay, technology I've never used before. I would like to take a look at their UI, so there's another opportunity for me. In terms of the responsive design, the founder was dead set on keeping everything on the page for SEO purposes. Website architecture evaluation wasn't needed. Critical developments on the site were overwritten by custom CSS. These need to be removed. And a lot of recompressed images were re-uploaded again. Certain developments were removed on mobile for a better scrolling experience. Accessibility. Again, I dropped out of this project, so the last thing I provided was just a simple basic guideline to a lot of the accessibility websites out on the web that are professionally utilized by large agencies and institutions, and I hope that they had time to implement it. Because I would certainly help them, but my time was done with them. Uh, so the key takeaways from this entire journey: learn to code, better understanding on how plugins work, learned more about the world of databases and MySQL structuring and my PHP admin, PHP admin. I'm not a backend person, but this gave me a first-hand glimpse on how to dive deeper into a lot of this stuff. And there were long nights trying to, scratching my head. It's like, why does this not work? I don't know, But I worked locally just to make sure I didn't break anything. I also learned some advanced CSS techniques and then also modified JavaScript files. Um, in terms of design work, there's no such thing as a one-size-fit-all design. Every website is uniquely different. Understanding design system principles and applying them to each project helps avoid user experience pitfalls. Understanding accessibility guidelines was also another thing. Last time I touched up on anything heavy was when I worked at Red Hat back in 2018 for a large software agency. And so diving back into the web and actually being able to mitigate through all of this stuff and kind of reapply some of the things I failed to apply in the past, was a really good experience for me. Developing nonprofit branding solutions and effective mobile experiences by optimizing files and reducing server requests. In terms of what I learned in communication, to communicate with nonprofits, first and foremost, because I've never spoke with any of them. But now I have a sense of what their needs are whenever I jump in a call with a nonprofit organization. Understanding nonprofit user base and donor needs, organization management, team management, volunteer and peers, actually, because a lot of people in the nonprofit space are volunteers, not paid, and they give their time. And so it's really hard to kind of manage people. One project I jumped in to make some design changes because the design piece was passed over to me through Figma, but then she left after 2 weeks. And so I was like, where do I go to the next person to talk about the design work? Well, okay, we'll find someone else. They found someone else, but then that person left after a week. So not leaving a paper trail and also just understanding how to work with people in a kind of revolving door kind of thing is highly critical. This now also goes along with time management, scope of the task line, task timelines with minimal volunteer hours. I gave only pretty much 5 to 10 hours of my time per week. And with 3 projects, that's like 30 hours a week, really. That leaves only 10 hours for me to do whatever else I need, because I also run my own sole proprietary freelance business. Develop basic support systems to help guide organizations' needs and also just create documentation. Again, if I leave, or else someone leaves, someone else at least has some sort of a manual to understand what the last person has been doing. That's sort of the tools of the trade of being a developer, but it's not normally applied to other career fields. How to make a difference in the world, how funds are utilized, how nonprofits help society, how charity campaigns work, There's a lot of golf. Golf is a big thing when it comes to donations. Um, Working with various stakeholders and learning about their contributions and ROI needs. And the last thing is how to use WordPress. Really, like I said before, experiencing theme builders for the first time, getting to know the full site editor, setting styles in FSC for clients, learning the basics of the block editor, extending the block editor's capabilities, understanding the new site structure with Theme.js and how to modify components. A lot of these things were completely different and foreign to me. And so it was a good opportunity to learn all these. And the last thing here really is the tools I utilized. I'm assuming you guys can take a screenshot of this, but this is basically the overall tools I utilize on a day-to-day basis, but also with these projects I've been working with. WP Migrate is DB organize. It can do transfers and take your entire existing site, bundle it up, and then you can put it into local, which I also use local by Flywheel to run a local instance on my computer. Instant WP is sort of what I used for Touching Heart, which is currently what I guess supposedly their staging server is being run on right now. GiveWP is a donation application. This is extremely critical because if you need to keep your donors visually on the site. A lot of these nonprofits, they cobble together odd, a lot of weird widgets and weird plugins that takes them out of the site, ask for a donation, and then never bring them back to the site. And so they're left wondering, probably it's like, wait, where did I just donate my money to? So um, it keeps it centralized, but also for the organization, they can also track the amount they're getting paid, how much they're getting paid, what campaigns were actually more, I guess, more successful than others. So there's analytical data built into the plugin as well. So it's a really nice service. Beaver Builder, again, is another theme builder. Astra Pro is also a theme builder. Spectrum is more or less more like a plugin, not really a theme builder, but you can try give it a try if you want. CyberDuck for SFTP purposes and Termageddon for the policies that I had suggested them to apply on their site because it's a new rule. And that basically kind of concludes my uh, nonprofit journey thus far for a better portion of now. I would say it's probably a year and 3 months now. So um, yeah, I would strongly suggest if anyone who's inexperienced with WordPress, give this a try. Yes, you're not getting paid, but you're getting a golden opportunity to dive into a tool that is rich in the community and there's a huge support structure. That's also the other thing. Diving in, knowing that I would be able to kind of ask people questions and not just feel like I'm being fumbled around in Stack Overflow was a great plus. So yeah, and you can find me. My email is there, web, Instagram, Twitter, X, and also on LinkedIn.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All my years working with GiveWP, I know they're so challenging to work with. It's so challenging to work within a nonprofit. So I'm not saying that the people who are there are the challenging people, but there seems to be two kinds of nonprofits. The kind that says we have all the money to do all the things we need. We know that we have to spend money to make money. And then there's the ones who said, I think my nephew's going to build this for us because he's going to do it for free, right? And there's like no in between. And so you end up with people who literally have no idea how to use plugins and how to do backups and all those things, or you end up with the bigger nonprofits that are hiring staff and paying people to do the work and outsourcing what they need to. And so it sounds to me like you've been one of those people who has helped bridge that gap, if you will, and make people make the nonprofits a little bit more profitable by giving them good direction and helping them establish themselves better on the web. So nice work.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, there's a lot of WordPress sites out there. You know, we
Yeah,
currently pretty much run 43% of the web, and there's a lot of WordPress out in the road that are kind of broken, and we gotta help out, you know. So
exactly.
again, I could build new features for the site in open source community, but there's also you can also apply new features. You know, as soon as you update the WordPress core version or the block editor version or the new plugin version, you'll be able to play around with new tools. So it's not like you won't be able to, you know.
Right.
So not only helping out, but you're also learning new skills too.
Hmm. I don't take on many new builds for projects that aren't my own projects anymore, unless it's a friend that says I need I need help with. I built a nonprofit website this year for a Lions Club in a very depressed area of New York State. And so it was kind of a pleasure to be able to put something together for them, um, where the youngest person in the group is 70 and everybody else does not understand that you can't just Venmo through a website very easily and all of the things and all of the challenges, and where they send me marked up pieces of paper in the mail to recreate things on their website. So yeah, it can be very challenging, but seems like you 70 is the new 50. I'm 55 and I feel like I'm at like 35. So I'm gonna go with that, Joseph. I'm okay with that for sure. Um, but yeah, I think that you've done a really nice job with that, and I appreciate you telling the story. Does anybody have questions for James? Or ideas? I think James is always open to ways to improve his process as well. Cameron.
Thanks for that, James. I do have a couple of questions. How many hours a week are you dedicating to this volunteer work?
As of right now, it's pretty much like 20 hours, I would say. And the other 20 is really to work on the independent business work that I have. Um, my current state right now is that I like to also find out a little bit more about um how to do probably MRR, which is like reoccurring revenue as sort of like a new form of business, I guess. Not so new. It's basically retainership, you know. So that will be baked into my schedule as well. Yeah, it's pretty much like 2020.
Yeah, cool. And yeah, my next question was going to be like, yeah, is this like something that you're doing to kind of like ramp up to doing something like full time for, like turning this into a career? Or is this something that you're juggling with like a full-time job as well, sort of thing?
Yeah, no, I do plan to convert this to like a full-time career, you know, but I will always provide a little bit of time to help and volunteer. I feel like that's just a need, you know. Oh, you're muted, Michelle.
Thank you. I was just reading Trevor's comment in the chat. That's cute.
Yeah, don't ask me to
it's
do the math.
your wife's the mathematician. You're the physicist.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
And it just goes to show you that you can be on Zoom all day, every day, like I am, and still forget to unmute very easily. Any other questions for James? We also are open at this point then. We still have up to an hour, although we don't have to use the whole hour, of course, for any other conversation, questions, needs for help, any of that. And I know, Trevor, you said you have a new site. Did you want to kind of look at that together real quick?
We can. It is definitely in the early stages on it. Let me get the URL and put it in.
You're welcome to share your screen too if you'd like. Are we good for me to stop the recording now since we've done with the presentation? Everybody okay with that?